week in racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of the shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last stunts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is The Magic Mike Show, episode 288. Mr. Samich.
Huzzah!
We're back in the saddle again. We were here just a couple of days ago. I was like, I feel like we just did this. I kept thinking, this isn't Thursday, is it? It is Thursday. It's going to be a fun show. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Short week. Got a quick turnaround here. It's like a Thursday night football game. Got to coach him up real quick and get out on the field. Make it happen.
I love it. We're going to be looking at the Belmont Park late pick 4 sequence coming up this weekend. It's including the grade $1 million Belmont Derby. Mike was talking to Marshall Sterling, who's a really wonderful weather reporter, especially in the world of horse racing. Was talking to him on Twitter earlier. Well, not sure what's going to happen weather-wise. We're hoping that it's going to stay on the turf, but we kind of worked it out a little bit both ways. We actually, because we've been rained off so many times, we're like, let's just handicap for both. So we'll give you guys some insights on that. If you have any questions, comments, if you're watching us live, join in on the fun. Give us a thumbs up, a like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Mike, last night, Stanley Cup Finals, Tampa Bay Lightning. They went in 5, as you and Aaron Halterman predicted in an after show on the Magic Mike Show. That was a fun game, though. I don't know if you got a chance to watch it. That did not feel like a lopsided series at all.
No, it was a blast of a game. And like, you just got to take your hat off to Andrei Vasilevsky, the winning goaltender who had a shutout in all 4 series clinching games. Absolutely incredible. Wins the Conn Smythe. Pat Maroon, St. Louis native, man who helped bring the Cup to the Blues, wins these 3rd straight Stanley Cup. Pretty cool stuff there, too. And Tom Brady extends his absolutely wild list of championships won while he's living in a city. I don't know if you saw this. It was going around today where like there's a post about all the titles that have been won when Tom Brady has been in that city. And it starts like in San Francisco and it's ridiculous. And then it goes up to Michigan and it was like all the Detroit Red Wings titles. And then it goes to Boston where he wins them. Then the Red Sox are winning them. The Bruins are winning them. It's crazy. And then he goes to Tampa. Well, the Lightning have now won twice. He's got a Bucks championship and the Rays are the favorites in baseball. So it's just crazy. Like wherever Tom Brady goes, it's not just his sport. Everywhere championships follow him, unless it's the match, in which case he cannot win a golf match, thankfully. We were on the DeChambeau, Aaron Rodgers side of that one. That was fun.
I'm looking at this right now. It's on SB Nation, and my God, you're not kidding. It's
ridiculous.
Wow. This is it's not literally every single year, but it's goddamn close to every single year. This is insanity. That's just insanity.
It is mind-blowing. From like 1977, I just pulled it up, to 2021, there's like 4 years a championship was not won in the city that Tom Brady lived in. It's crazy. I mean, yeah, sure, he won 7 of them, but like that's 40 years. There's only like 33 other years someone had to win one in his city. So it's just absolutely mind-blowing that actually happened.
You're saying the Tampa Rays they're already favored? I feel like we missed the boat. Where was this article when the season started?
We're late to the party, man. We're late to the party. I guess you play the Bucks again next year? I don't know. Yeah, it's just absolutely crazy. Like, just random stuff, too. There's no way, like, there's any correlation between this. It's just random. But it is unbelievable that it is that solid.
That third period, especially for the Lightning Canadiens game last night, was the best thing that I saw in the last couple of days. Because I think about the last 10.5 minutes, I think the puck stopped. They had actually stoppage and play 4 times. It was just nonstop, constant action, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. The excitement was there because they were on their home ice when they won it. So, and I'm with you, Vasilevsky. I got to see that guy way too often play the Detroit Red Wings this year. I'm real happy when we go back to the normal division alignment and scheduling next year. I don't have to see that guy every other weekend. I saw firsthand just how good they were, and it makes me feel better as a Red Wings fan that we got our ass kicked so many times by the Stanley Cup champions. Like, we got our asses beat, but hey, they were the champs. I mean, look what they did to Montreal. That makes me feel a little better inside.
I mean, didn't you get your ass kicked by everybody though?
Columbus. We were pretty good against Columbus, who I think finished behind us in the standings.
Did not make the playoffs, but anyway, best thing I saw, man. This one's pretty easy. It's the goddamn sun. It has been raining like 8 straight hours. And maybe 5 minutes before we started this podcast, the sun came out. Finally, the sun came out. So I got to see a ray of sunlight. And it kind of leads me into one of the bigger problems I'm having this weekend. where the heck do I go with the Samba Bombs tomorrow? Like, the entire East Coast is rained out. Belmont might not even have a card. Like, it literally just rained 8 straight hours here, and that storm is headed directly toward Belmont Park. Like, Los Alamitos is really the only West Coast track running. You got, like, Arlington Park, maybe Woodbine if we want to go up north. But, like, the options are limited. Right now we're leaning Gulfstream, and then we're hopefully going to go Belmont on Saturday. But this entire weekend, you got to watch the weather because we are going to be off the turf left, right, and center if you're on the East Coast.
Well, then Los Al, they're done with the thoroughbreds. They're back to just the nighttime racing. They're actually Southern California is off for its normal thing until we had Del Mar coming next week, which is pretty exciting in its own right, along with Saratoga coming back. I'm looking at this list. Saturday, Lone Star's got a pretty big Texas bred racing schedule.
Yeah, it's not wonderful, but 7 days. 7 days, Saratoga rings that first bell. 7 days, we get Del Mar back. It's going to be absolutely awesome having those 2 tracks running every weekend. I can't wait to be up there. Press Pass went through. Super excited about that.
So you got a Press Pass, nice.
Yeah, super pumped about that. So I'll be wandering around all the different parts of Saratoga and checking out the scenes. I can't wait, man.
That means it's 10 days to the Cougar 2 Stakes, a grade 3, 1.5 miles at Del Mar. $100,000 purse. Tez Magician going to win that race on July 18th. You heard it here first. Mike, we've got Belmont Park to look at. Normally it would be a fun sequence. 3 out of the 4 races are on turf. Like I said at the top of the show, Mike and I did do a little handicapping in case they come off the turf, trying to guess which turf horses might stay on, but we think if they do, they're worth playing. So even though if we are going to get rained off for these last couple of races, try and give you some good information moving forward. Let's get into it, Mike. Riders up. All right, Mike, kicking things off for the late pick 4 sequence at Belmont Park on Saturday, July 10th. Grade 3, $150,000 Victory Ride Stakes, the only one in the sequence that is scheduled to be on the dirt. You got a field of 8 3-year-old fillies going 6.5 furlongs on the main track. Favoritism is on the number 7, Australasia at 5-2, the little Louisiana bred who could and keeps going for Brad Cox. It's just a matter of, after 6 starts, she's beaten everybody. She's facing a lot of the same horses back here again. You got to watch out for that number 3 horse. Miss Brazil, though, at 5-2. Where are you going on top, Mike?
Oh, I did think it was between these 2 on top. I'm going to go with Miss Brazil. Look, that last race, I mean, we talked about this. Anytime a horse breaks through the gate, immediate, just draw a line through it. I got absolutely no interest in playing that horse, or I have no interest in grading that horse off of that race. I'm gonna draw a line through it. I think Miss Brazil has a chance to be forwardly placed here in a race that has a ton of speed, and I'll get to that a little bit later and why that's going to influence one of my picks. I like the fact that we can turn the tables here on Australasia. I think that you have a very good chance of being able to do so. If you look at that race 2 back, no problem going 6.5. The field was pretty weak. The time was pretty slow from an early fraction perspective. 23-2, 46-2. It's going to be a little hotter up front. So Miss Brazil is going to have to do a little bit more work or come from off the pace. I kind of like the fact that she was able to come from off the pace last time and just kind of didn't last. I think that showed a little bit of a new dimension for her, and hopefully she learned from that and can use that stepping forward. But I like the 3 Miss Brazil on top. I'm also going to use Australasia. Look, she's done nothing wrong. You're dead on. She's won at 6.5. She came from off the pace at 6.5. That time was not good at Churchill. It's like, so I'm not overly interested in her, especially at the 2-1 price. But I do think these are the 2 that class the field. So I'm going to end up 3 deep here, but those are going to be my first 2. I know you've got a big opinion here, Magic. Where are you headed?
Yeah, I'm singling here. I'm actually doing 2 different tickets. I'm doing a Mike Samich style. I thought the way my ticket went through here is when I did my initial pass, I was using the 3 and the 7, and I had a $64 ticket, and it was looking pretty chalky. And I was like, I can't do this. I need to learn from my past mistakes and really press my opinion. So I dropped 1, and I've got a $2 ticket. I'm singling the 3 Miss Brazil in both of these here. I love the fact that 2 back she did really well at 6.5 furlongs over this track. And like you said, Mike, in the Jersey Girl last time out, she broke through the gate. I thought she actually ran a winning race that day coming from off the pace. I think just breaking through the gate kind of got her a little bit. That was also 6 furlongs. You got horses that were primed a little bit stronger there. You see the time was much, much quicker than what she's usually done, which is 22 and a half, 45 and 3. I think we're going to get close to that because of the horses who are around her on both sides. All over the place seem to be loaded with speed. But now we're getting Jose Ortiz in the saddle for the first time. We saw what he was able to do when Irad was off mounts with injury for a while. Irad rode this horse to that really impressive 6.5 furlong victory. My concern, and one of the deciding factors with Australasia, she broke slowly last time out. She's had some issues coming out of the gate a couple of times. She had to be hard ridden pretty good in that Jersey Girl. And granted, once she got going in the stretch, she was gone. But who's riding is the bell curve. What side of the bell curve we're going to fall on? We fell on the good side of the bell curve last time, Mike. Are we going to the other side here? I think 2-1 against this. This is the toughest field that she's faced, even though she has beaten some of these in the past. I think this is overall the toughest field she's faced, and I'm a little worried that we're going to see Rosario bounce a little bit.
Yeah, the 4-1 on her wasn't bad last time, right? 2-1 is not great here. I'm hesitant to say she's going to go off as a favorite. I think Miss Brazil is actually going to go off as the favorite. I think a lot of people are going to see this race like we do, where Miss Brazil's trip was a little worse in that race, and where I would expect her to be able to take a nice step forward or a little bit better. And if she improves at all off that race 2 back, she's the best horse in this field. I'm not sure what type of ride we're going to get from Joel Rosario. I never am. And that's one of my biggest struggles with playing his horses at 2-1. I feel like I'm rolling dice of whether or not I'm going to get a good ride or a bad ride. I should get at least 2-1 when I don't know what the ride's going to be like. We talk about this all the time on this race. I am going to end up going 3 deep here. One of the things that I talk about a lot is that when you have sprinters going 6.5 furlongs and the speed signs up, and man, did the speed sign up here. I mean, the 1 horse has 22 and 2 speed. The 2 horse has 22 flat speed. The 4 horse has 22 and 2 speed. The 6 horse was 22 and 4 last time out. Australasia can go 22 and change. And by the way, on the outside, Chapero's only chance to win is to go, and she goes right. 22 and change. It's going to get hot. And you know what happens when it gets hot? You take the only horse that's been going 2 turns, and that is Super Sensational. You're right, Michael Myers. I'm gonna include the 5 here at a price. I think you're gonna get every bit of that 8-1. I get the best jockey in this race in Flavian Pratt.
Damn straight.
And so I think that you're gonna get a good trip. You're gonna get a ton of pace up front to chase. And by the way, did I mention it's gonna be raining? There might be a little wet in the ground. This is a curling horse out of an Indian Charlie mare with a 435 Tomlinson rating. Like, the muddier the puddles, the better for this horse. And I think you're going to get some awfully muddy puddles, as Peppa Pig would say. So I got Super Sensational here, closing late. And I think you almost have to include this horse because she is the only horse cutting back from distance that is going to really have her legs churning going 6.5 here.
I'm with you. And that really long stretch at Belmont is going to be only beneficial to her, as if these horses are all flying in the mud, in the slop, they're all going to get super tired, and Super Sensational should be coming past them. Miss Brazil, it's worth noting, is a daughter of Palace Malice himself, a son of Curlin. So going right with the same theme of Mike with 5 Super Sensational, should definitely love it if it gets a little wet out there. Overcharge is one that does have success in the slop that came at Monmouth Park. And Mike, I want to ask you about this because we talked about it previously with a Monmouth horse moving forward. No whips there. Horse is going to get the whip this time. Do you have any concerns? You didn't use this horse, but how do you feel it?
I didn't. This was actually the next horse in for me. I may switch my ticket up on race day and go 3, 4, 5 and just completely chuck the 7 and try and create a lot of value in this sequence. I think the 4 is the most interesting to me because the horse did it itself last time and was able to go 110 and 6 furlongs over the mud, was geared down late, wasn't even really asked, let alone not whipped. This horse could have just an alternate amount of talent. I also like kind of some of these sneaky trainers that end up getting good jockeys to pick up the mounts. And in this case, Cabejo is 20% with all of his starters, but has yet to start a horse at Belmont. And he's bringing this horse in for the first time horse in Belmont in a grade 3 stakes. And he gets Saez up. You got a ton of speed. Like, to me, there's a lot of things to like about the 4 horse, especially at the 10-1 price.
Yep, and that 121 early time form speed rating, I believe, is the best it's the best in the group by 1. Bella Sofia has a 120, Miss Brazil a 102. Let's move on to the next race here. By the way, Super Sensational, I forgot to mention, jockey for Soothsay, who Mark F says in the chat ran the most impressive race he's ever seen last night in the Indiana Oaks. Those the Indiana Derby and Oaks results were fun to watch. The Oaks especially. I still don't know how Soothsay got up there in time. Did you have her on your ticket?
I did have Soothsay on my ticket. I was deep to get there because I'm not going to lie. I've been talking some shit about the California fillies. So I did not have her as one of my top horses in there, but I had the deep tickets, and that was a spread race to me. I thought that race was absolutely wide open, as you almost saw a 40-1 shot below the tote up there.
Yeah, that was a crazy one. You can shit on all the West Coast California dirt fillies as long as they're not from the Mandela Barn. The Mandela Barn has been churning them out like crazy, including Tuesday. Let's move on to the second leg, the late pick 4 sequence at Belmont Park on Saturday, July 10th. This is the headlining event, the Grade 1 $1 million Belmont Derby Invitational, field of 9 3-year-old males going 1.25 miles on the inner turf course. Favoritism is on number 2, Bolshoi Ballet, the Irish bred for trainer Aidan O'Brien. 7-5 on the morning line. Usually when Aidan sends him over, Mike, he's not screwing around. This horse seems like he might be an absolute monster. Was the 6-5 favorite in the Epsom Derby last time out, or as it's known overseas, the Derby, the race that originated the term. This is the Derby of all derbies outside of Kentucky. This is the one everybody wants to win around the world. So the 6-5 favorite comes overseas and faces a bunch of American horses. I feel like he's got a pretty good chance to win, don't you, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, best thing I saw today was this horse was the favorite, so that you had to pronounce Bolshoi Ballet before I did. So I appreciate that you got that 7-5 shot there. Yeah, look, I could make a case for this horse before it poured buckets up there. With it pouring buckets, I think you can make an even bigger case for this horse. I mean, the 2 could be an absolute standout here. Should absolutely love the soft going. You saw that over in Europe. If I was going to pick a track and a condition to start a European turf horse, it would be Belmont Park, where they always go slow early, over a wet course, which is exactly what this horse is going to get. So everything kind of just came up spades for Aidan O'Brien and Moore here. When Moore comes over to ride specifically, the horse is live. I only went 2 deep in this race because of this horse. I think Bolshoi Ballet is a standout in this spot. You could totally single this horse if you wanted to get aggressive and single the 5 in the first leg and then the 2 here, or if you like the 3 Miss Brazil in the first leg and then the 2 here on a $5 ticket. I wouldn't tell you you're doing anything wrong. The other horse I'm going to use in here is the 5 horse du jour. And for me, and I know we've been talking about Sainthood getting on the turf. I kind of like Hard Love, the 6 here as well, but when we talk about Bob Baffert and we talk about what he is good at doing, it's never good at turf. We always talk shit about Bob Baffert training turf horses. He's struggled there time and time again. What does Belmont do really well?
Turf,
he trains turf horses.
Route horses.
Like, you're going from worst case scenario, not worst, but definitely lower percentage scenario to really good scenario from a barn perspective. Flavian Pratt's going to stay aboard, so you're still top tier jockey here, and has tactical speed, and there's not a ton of it in here. So for me, I couldn't find a way to leave du jour off the ticket at 9-2, so I'm only going to go 2 deep with the 2 and the 5, but I wouldn't argue if someone wants to single the 2 here.
2 was definitely my top pick, if you couldn't tell. I used the 5 on my 50 center, didn't make the $2 ticket. This horse hasn't run beyond 1 mile and a 16th. Granted, this horse debuted at a 2-turn mile and was on the turf at Del Mar. So this horse is bred by Temple City out of a Bernardini mare to handle routing. I just want to see, can this horse actually handle going 1.25 miles? It doesn't look like there's a ton of sharp pace, so Pratt will be able to play the break and see what happens. I ended up using the other 2 horses you mentioned, Sainthood and the 6 Hard Love. We'll talk about 6 Hard Love. This is my other must-use along with the 2 horses. Third off the layoff, third start at age 3, is a Son of Kitten's Joy out of a Rock Hard 10 mare, so it's bred to run all day long. This has been the target race since the winter for Jonathan Thomas. They bring him back in the Woodhaven at Aqueduct. That's in April. They were targeting the Pennine Ridge. If you remember, that was a race that was supposed to be held on the turf, got rained off on May 29th. When that race got rained off, Thomas ended up scratching and sending him into that older male test against 3 and up horses. Beats older males in that race. There was a field of 12, so a pretty big one. It was on the inner turf course, so he likes it here, as well as the outer, which he broke his maiden over. I really don't think that the horse has done anything wrong, other than the fact that he doesn't have the super sexy trainer. Manny Franco isn't the super sexy jockey, even though he's won both starts on him. So I think this horse is something that you have to use here, and I know you mentioned you were considering him. So what ultimately made you keep him off your ticket?
Look, I think the 2 that good, and I didn't want to go 4 deep in this race. I mean, to me, that was really a lot of times when I talk about this, and if I like a favorite, I'm singling or going 2 deep. I'm not going to spread more than that, because I feel like I'm really diminishing the value of the ticket if I go 4 deep in a race where I think the favorite is the best horse. I think that puts you in a really bad spot, because you're ending up having to hope that you're hoping your third pick, who's 5-2, gets home. And to me, that's not a great scenario to be in when you're playing a pick 4, especially if if you like some of the favorites earlier in the first leg. I'm going to go 3, 4, 5 in the first leg. I'm going to try and get a price home there to kind of help spice this up a little bit more. So I'll switch my ticket in the background. But yeah, to me, when you're going 4 deep in a race, it's tough to, and you love the 7-5 favorite. It's just long term, it's gonna cost you.
Well, I got a little price here. I'm trying to hopefully get home, and I'm surprised he's 10-1. But this is what I was hoping for a while ago. This is a horse going into the Pennine Ridge in Sainthood, who I was very excited about. Just because he's bred for turf. I believe we talked about it on the show either before or after the race. Being out of a son of Medaglia d'Oro, out of a Lemon Drop Kid mare, should love the turf. Finally is going to get to try it, and it gets rained off. Well, the horse won, and you look, and it's like there's still nothing on the form on paper that says that turf is where he needs to go. I think that if he takes a step forward on the turf, which is what we were predicting the Pennine Ridge, I think he's got a great chance to do it. Rosario's aboard, so we'll see what kind of a ride I get from the bell curve. If he's off the last race and he's on this one, that's good for us. But again, I understand if you want to leave him off. If you do believe, as Chris Nebraska says in the chat, that Bolshoi Ballet is a monster. So I totally get if you want to leave him off. But for me, price-wise, 10-1, I definitely want him on my ticket.
Yeah, the price is appealing. It's just, again, Bolshoi Ballet has 200-plus time form numbers, has won multiple group stakes over in Europe. I mean, it's tough for me to try and say that Sainthood, who can't get it done, who struggled to get it done. I love Sainthood. I've been a huge Sainthood proponent. This is just it's not like going from the shallow water to the deep water. It's like going from the shallow water to being tossed into that trench in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. I mean, this is a huge step up here for Sainthood. I'm not sure that. I mean, this is the time to get the price, so I won't argue with that. But it's a big step up in class.
This is the shallow end to the high dive right now in the Olympics. That's what this is.
Not sure how horses do off the high dive draw either.
Well, we're going to find out on Saturday. Let's move on to race 10, the third leg of late pick 4 sequence at Belmont Park on Saturday, July 10th. Now we're back into a couple of questionable turf races here. The first one, field of 9 maiden males, 3 and up, plus 3 MTOs, going 7 furlongs on the outer turf course. Ranger Fox, the 3-horse, is your 9-5 favorite for Joel Rosario aboard. John Terranova, the trainer, was my top pick in here. I went 4 deep. Let's talk about first, Mike, focus on if this race continues to stay on the turf. How do you see it playing out?
Yeah, I'm actually excited to do this. I think it's going to be interesting for people to hear us talk about our off-turf handicapping too, because it's a little bit different when you're looking at a race on the turf and off the turf. So I am going to go here to the 8-horse Migrate as my top pick. This horse ran fairly well in its first time. It was against Ranger Fox, ends up finishing about 3 lengths behind it or so. But when you watch the trip of that race, I mean, Ranger Fox kind of got everything his own way up front, went the first half in 46, which really isn't that fast for this track. That went essentially 24-1 for that interior third quarter. Again, not that fast for this track. Migrate was the one who was closing, and Migrate didn't break well and had to alter course down the lane. We're getting a more experienced Migrate horse versus, a horse who I respect Ranger Fox, but Ranger Fox should have won the last 2 races. And the fact that it didn't, and now you're having to play it as the chalk again, to me, kind of it's not a great on top pick in my mind. So I'm gonna end up with the 8 Migrate on top. I'm gonna use the 3 Ranger Fox. I do think it's probably top 2 horse on paper here, but I'm gonna go 4 deep here in this spot. So I'll start out with those 2.
I liked Migrate as well. I went 4 deep on the 50-cent ticket. $2 ticket, I ended up going singling the 3 Ranger Fox. I think now that he's going to be drawn inside, when the last 2 starts was drawn a little bit more outside, it definitely has a speed advantage. So the 2 horses that are to his inside, the 1 horse that's to his inside, Bold Victory is an MTO. So if we stay on the turf, Ranger Fox is now on the rail, low in speed, it looks like to me. We'll see again what Rosario will do from a bell curve perspective. I do like the Migrate as well. Candy Ride it is a 20% sire when it comes to wet dirt races. So if this race gets moved off, this is a horse that this was actually going to be my top pick if they do get rained off. Also, this horse is a half to a multiple turf route stakes winner. So the ability to run on turf and run well with class on turf is well within this horse's scope. So I went that route as well. Third horse I'm going to use, I'm going all the way to the outside, Deregulation. I don't love it. I don't love going all the way out. I'm sorry. Yeah, the 11 horse there is Deregulation. Trainer Chad Brown, owner Klarovich Stables. This is not what Chad Brown does well, turf sprinting. We've talked about that before, but this is an acclimation gelding. Chad Brown does well with acclimation horses when they come over. Lost. We got fourth on debut. That was the same race as Migrate, as Ranger Fox. The horse that won, King of Miami, won the Mystic Lake Derby. That's the infamous American Pharoah horse that I took off that would have cashed the goddamn pick 5 at Canterbury. So we got that. So that is the horse that won. So the fact that this horse, that King of Miami, won on deregulation when I wanted to leave off because I don't love the 5-2 price that I'm getting, I think that is definitely the connections being bet there. I don't love it, but I can't let that horse beat me when King of Miami so just perfectly ruined me before.
Yeah, well, and just a quick note, the Ranger Fox race, that's actually the race before.
It's the second one. I realized that after I said it.
It's separate horses there, so it's just a little bit funky there because it's hard to compare those two, the 8 and the 11. You know, I'm going to end up leaving the 11 off my ticket here. I went back and forth on this horse. It was my last horse on. I realized, leaving off Brown and Klarovich at 5-2 is not a great proposition, but I kind of feel like that Ranger Fox has this horse covered, and I want to look for a little bit better of a price. My third pick here, and I did this before the morning lines were out. I guess I got a little crazy. Was the 10 horse Ready Seat Go, who's sitting on the board at 30-1 on the morning line. So I'm going to go ahead and use Ready Seat Go because I kind of like the 30-1 price. I'm not going to lie. This horse ran at Gulfstream Park in its first race out, and when you look at that race, it was just over at the start. Now the horse was 60-1 when it went off, so it obviously was not expected to do much, but it was bumped, it was pinched. And that was going 7.5 at Gulfstream. We've done Gulfstream enough here where you just see if you're going 7.5 and you have a bad start, it is just over. You've got no chance, especially if it's your first time out. You look at this specific trainer, second or off this layoff, 17%, $3.68 ROI. Second maiden start, 22%, $2.36 ROI. Turf sprints, 13%, 175 ROI. You're getting Saez here, which is really interesting to me, on a horse that I don't think we have any idea what the actual talent is. You take all of that, and you go to that effort 2 back, where this horse is training in Saratoga and goes 47-2 out of the gate, bullet workout for that day. I wouldn't be shocked if the 10 has a ton more speed than we realize, and that first race is just a complete chuck. And if that's the case, I think the 10 to 30-1 is kind of dangerous with Saez here. Other horse I'm going to use is the horse right to the inside, Ever Resting. This horse, look, Saffie Joseph's barn has been absolutely on fire over at Belmont. And so I'm scared to leave anything off of this coming out of the Saffie Joseph barn. But not only that, look at the blinks off angle. When Saffie takes off the blinkers, it clicks off at 25%. This horse had some speed. I think it's interesting that you're taking the blinkers off here. The last time out, it had a little bit of a slow start, got bumped, got caught 4 wide. We're getting an extra furlong here, and the buyers have been improving every one of the last couple starts. So, for me, I'm gonna go with the 3, 8, 9, and 10 in this spot, and hopefully we can get either the 9 or 10 home at a price.
Perfect. I'm just updating. You had it gets tricky with the coupled entries there. There was one number.
Yeah, I got all the numbers here, so I realized I had the wrong number on there after the fact.
No, that's okay. That's all right. Like I said, it's really tricky. I was sitting here making sure that I hadn't written down the wrong numbers because I'm doing it without the poster, the morning line there. The 10's one I looked at because I was very curious. Why the hell is Luis Saez riding this horse when nothing about this horse says, at least on paper, it looks to me like it's something that would do well. But is bred maybe possibly to handle it. Let's talk before we move on. If this race comes off the turf, is there one horse in particular, maybe from the MTOs, maybe one that you didn't use, but now is really curious to you in this race?
Well, interestingly enough, Migrate would be my top pick either way.
Right. Okay.
I think the 8 horse is set up well to be off the turf. Candy Ride, we talked about that before. I mean, that horse is absolutely monster from an off the turf perspective. Carson City, not so bad itself. Bill Mott will leave this horse in too. I'm usually pretty good at predicting New York trainers and which horses are going to end up in or out because of playing Saratoga for so many years. I think this horse stays in here, and I think this horse is awfully dangerous if it does. I also think it's absolutely wild to expect 10-1 on the 1A Lemon Drop Road. I think that's more of a morning line based off of what we would see if this race stayed on the turf with the first half of the entry, My Boy Curlin.
Yep.
Lemon Drop Road, I think, would be very dangerous coming into this spot too. Did face these horses 3 back in that King of Miami Ranger Fox race, but that was over the turf. Back-to-back 86 buyers probably smokes this field on dirt. So the 1A, I think, is the other horse you have to use. I would end up with 1A, 8, 3, and the 5 was other I would consider Alban, who's in as a main track only horse for Pletcher.
And that Saez, I believe, has first call on that one. It's interesting too because the 5 is going from trainer Danny Pites to trainer Dodd Pletcher. Usually it's the other way. Usually Danny kind of gets the lesser than horses that don't necessarily go to Todd Pletcher there. So I'm with you. I think the 8 and the 1A, those are the ones that I mentioned. The 8 would be my top pick if it was rained off, but the 1A also looks pretty strong. Those 86 buyers, nothing to laugh about. Let's move on to the fourth and final leg, the late pick 4 sequence here at Belmont Park on Saturday, July 10th. Field of 10 males, 4 and up plus 2 MTOs, going a mile and 16th on the inner turf course. It's like a 1 3/4, 7/8 of a turn here. You got 2 horses that are entered for the main track. Only Mike, where are you going on top here? Solio 5-2 is the favorite coming from the 3 post.
I'll be in the post right to the outside. I'm gonna go with the 12-1 Mandate right on the outside here. Like, look, Wayne Potts usually very good off the claim. And you look what this horse did at the $25,000 claiming level, 3 back, was able to just miss with Carmouche up top. Attentive ends up winning that race. Look, I used to love Mike Luzzy. When I was like 15, 16 years old, he was my guy on turf. When Mike Luzzy was riding a Cozine horse, I was all over it. I'm not 15 or 16 anymore. Jose Ortiz is a slight upgrade to Mike Luzzy when we're talking about someone in the saddle here. And I don't think that can be underplayed. I think that Mandate is set up to be able to run back to those races. Usually horses move forward with Wayne Potts, especially when they're 4. Like, everything says this should be a good horse, has enough talent to be competitive at this level. We're going back down to the $25,000 level. I think the 4 at 12-1 is an absolute ridiculous price. By the way, Ortiz has rode this horse twice. That was at Saratoga in $40,000 non-winner to 2, where the horse won, running an 83 buyer, and for a $50,000 allowance, where the horse missed by a neck to Bray, who was a very good New York turf horse at the time. So, yeah, I think that this horse knows Ortiz pretty well, and I think this is an awfully good spot for Mandate at 12-1. Other must-use in this spot is right to the outside. The horse that I think may just be controlling speed, and that's the 5 horse Rejected again. I'm really scared that Sias can wire this field. That's kind of why I ended up on this horse. The effort 3 back will definitely get it done there at the $25,000 level. The effort 2 back just had absolutely no chance. The horse went to a lead with a 22-2, 45 opening half. The horse is going to lose if they go that fast up front. But I think you're going to see more of that 24-49 style pace. And Sias is a jockey I trust to take control and be able to go after it. I also love the fact that I'm getting Mike Maker, who's 21% at the meet. And it's a 4-year-old who I hope will be improving here. So I'm going to go with both the 4 and the 5. A little bit of prices here at 12-1 and 6-1.
Jason in the chat says he laughed at your 15. When you were 15, how much you loved betting Mike Luzzy horses.
I started betting when I was like 4. Like it was my dad would take me to the racetrack, and there were 9 races at Saratoga, and it was win, play, show, exacta, and then there was 1 daily double. And so you could bet $1 back then. So I was given $10. My sister and I were both given $10. And we got a $1 show bet in each race and could bet a $1 daily double, or we could keep the money. I never once kept the money. I bet every single race. My sister never bet a race. So right from the outset, we were just ingrained in stone to go down our 2 paths.
That doesn't sound too unlike the daughters of one Geist Paddle. That sounds a lot like what I may or may not have witnessed at Santa Anita on Memorial Day. Listen, you named 2 of my favorite horses in here. Just flip them around. The 5 is my top pick because I think this is Lone Speed, and Luis Saez in the saddle. Lone Speed, giddy up. I think that's a pretty strong one. Also dropping down to the 25K level for just the second time in, about 2 years, almost 2 years here. The last time was at the 25K level. Third by a neck after setting the pace at this distance over this course was a neck behind Mandate. Your top pick and my second choice, and I'm with you, 12-1 on this horse. I think people are looking at the fact that this horse was doing very well at this level or slightly higher with Todd Pletcher, and then gets claimed and gets bumped up, doubles up in price, and doesn't run as well in the next 2 starts. So people are going to look at that and go, oh, well, this horse is trash now. Wayne Potts doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Wayne Potts, I think, got a little ballsy and wanted to see, maybe there were multiple shakes for the horse at 25 and wanted to see, can we entice people to get this horse back at 50? Maybe get this horse back at 40. That shit happens. Trust me, that shit happens in the claiming game sometimes. Now we're back down to the 25. This is where that horse belongs here. So I'm fully with you on the 4 Mandate. I used the 3 Solio. I know you did as well. This was your third horse. This horse runs well off the bench. Is a multiple grade 3 and stakes place runner. This horse, given time off after being claimed for $25,000, returns at the same level. So even though there is a bit of a gap, returning at the same level tells me there's nothing wrong. Or maybe Orlando Noda just need to give the horse a little bit of a break here. Notice 21% first off the claim, 21% overall at the claiming ranks here. So we're also getting Hall of Famer Javier Castellano to ride for the first time, and he doesn't ever ride for Orlando Noda. So that did catch my attention. I know not everybody's a big Castellano fan, but for me, I thought this was fine. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind Castellano on the horse. I think with IRAD suspended, you're going to get some interesting mounts in different barns right now. So I think this is one of those where IRAD Ortiz would be on this horse had he not been suspended for this spot. So, look, as Andy Sterling says, Noda's a cheater, right? Like he's one of those trainers. That's from Andy Sterling, not me. So yeah, so he's one of those, when they come off the claim, I'm not going to leave them off very often. And you look at that off the claim numbers, 21%. He's moved some horses forward. That's just shocking the effort. So I can't leave Solio off here, although I do think it's a pretty deep race. Interesting note, too, just real quick on Mandate, but before we move on. The horse Attentive was in the last 3 races with Mandate, and I just don't see him moving back enough from that race 3 back to be able to explain why those other 2 races were so bad. And Noda's a decent enough trainer. So the fact that he's a favorite at this level and the horse that he beat him is in good form also tells you that, if he gets back to those races, he's going to be awfully tough here. I'm going to go 5 deep in this spot. I went out to the 11 Noble Thought. This is just a horse that it's got the numbers to win. I'm not sure if it's going to be able to fire a big enough shot in this spot. I don't love the post, but we are dropping back down again to that $25,000 level where the Rodriguez barn claimed them. Rudy was training this horse. Now it's Gustavo, but you're going back to that level where you've got that $25,000 level where the horse was purchased at, where it totally fits. My biggest concern here is that there's not enough speed for this horse to close into. So Rosario is going to either keep this horse a little bit up front, or the softer turf is going to be able to need to play into this for Noble Thought to be able to help him close a little bit more from off the pace. Last horse I included was a 12 Boro. This horse is all the way on the outside. If we can get a trip, this horse is awfully dangerous. Again, one that was claimed to 25, moves up to 40, now is dropping back down to 25, but was in that. I mean, both the 11 and 12 were in that alternative win at the $40,000 level, where it beat the 4-horse Mandate, and both ran better than the 4-horse Mandate in that spot. So I'm going to end up using 3 out of that race, and hopefully one of them can get it done.
Both horses, the 11 and 12 that I did look at, didn't use. The 12, I think that the post, I don't love the 7-2 price. That when I saw 7-2, that made me feel good about leaving the horse off. It's a really short price when I don't have personally a strong conviction in him. He has taken a lot of money in his career. The 11 I looked at, and I think this horse is just too pace dependent. If you had a bunch of horses like like the 5 in here rejected again, then yeah, if I think there's a pace duel that's going to happen, great. I don't. I think you've got lone speed there, and when I made the lone speed my top pick, I can't pick a horse that needs to come from 13 lengths off to try and get a win done. Gustavo Rodriguez is Rudy Rodriguez's brother. I looked, I couldn't find if Rudy got suspended, but let's just say the last time Gustavo had a bunch of horses that he was saddling is because Rudy got suspended for a bunch of drug overages. So we'll see what happens. I did consider the horse mostly as a connections play, assuming Rudy is still the quote-unquote trainer there with Joel Rosario riding. The last horse I used, not on the $2 ticket, but on my 50-cent ticket, I used the 6 counter offer. Not super in love with the 9-2 price when you see that we've been getting double digits for the last 4 races, but this is a big connections play. We're going to Rob Atris's barn. He is 24%. First time with a trainer. He's 24% when he saddle horses for a claiming tag, so this is his bread and butter. Horse's 3rd time off the bench, taking a necessary class drop. Coming off from Gulfstream Park, where he was not doing well against the non-championship meet runners. But I'm hoping that maybe the move to the Rob Atris barn for a 50-cent ticket, I'm going to add him here, even though his last win was July 2020. So way back there.
Yeah, the only thing I would argue is this is not a class drop. This is a class hike, and I think it's a pretty significant one. It's why I left the 6 off.
Explain it.
So $35,000 at Gulfstream in June compared to $25,000 at Belmont in June is a raise in class. And if you look at what other horses you're facing here and who kind of came out of those races at Gulfstream, this is more equivalent to like a $50,000 tag at Gulfstream, especially heading into Saratoga, because you don't really want to lose your horse for 25 if it can win for 25 right now. That to me is one of those bigger things here, because a lot of trainers want Saratoga wins. We're a week away from the meet. this is when you start seeing horses get claimed at Belmont so people can run them back at Saratoga for less and get a winner, right? And so this is one of those spots where I think this is actually a jump up in class, even though it's a lower price tag for the horse.
Interesting. I'm glad you explained that. Let's take a look here since we looked at our tickets for on the turf. If they come off the turf, anyone specific catch your eye here?
So I actually think the 5 horse is again the horse to beat here, rejected again. So my second pick moves up to my top pick, and I think it's controlling speed again, but not just that. It's a sprinting speed on dirt that this horse has shown. Also 2 for 6 on a wet track with an 82 buyer. Tapazar is one of those good wet track sires. You get Saez again, who's going to be aggressive with this horse, and I would expect this horse to stay in. So for me, the 5 horse was the top pick, rejected again if they come off. My second pick, I would go to the 2 horse Villainous. This horse is coming in for Linda Rice, was disappointing off the first effort, but faced a horse named Kristen Dave, who's a pretty good horse, especially at the $50,000 claiming level, was running mid-80s, low 90s buyers before the Linda Rice barn. I have a feeling if we get anywhere back to that, this horse will be very, very tough on the dirt. So the 2 and the 5 were the 2 that stood out to me if we do end up on the dirt.
Those were exactly the same 2 I had. I'm glad we did all that work just so we could come on here and be like, yeah, we agree on the same exact 2 horses each time.
I will say, if you want a little spice, the 8 horse Acre is the other one that I think is interesting on the dirt. And this is not just because you have a good Thomason rating at the 410 and the horse is 1 for 1 in the wet track with an 88 buyer. All of that's great. You also have a horse that's dropping from 62,000 non-winners to 2. So it's a pretty significant class drop. I think is overmatched on the turf. But that class drop onto the dirt where you have a bunch of turf horses, I think does make an even more significant difference. So for me, the 8 horse Acre is also interesting if they come off the turf.
The horse has been racing in California before I started covering California. And so when I saw his name pop up, I was like, did I click on the wrong thing? I've gone through every other race. This is the last one. I get to him. I'm like, wait, is this a Los Altos? What did I just do? I forgot that he got privately purchased away from California and brought to New York this year. By the way, one thing I think is a little interesting is that 88 buyer for his 1 victory, the 8 horse, in the slop was an off-turf slop. So it wasn't that he was entered against dirt horses. He was entered against easier horses. They were turf horses that just decided to stay in and race on the dirt, and so got that really big effort. Also, it was his last race for Peter Miller, so read into that what you will. But really, overall, what you're hearing is that Mike and I think, at least on top, if this race comes off the turf, the 5 and the 2, those are your must-plays. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks so much for joining Mike and I to go through the late pick 4 sequence at Belmont Park on Saturday, July 10th. Once again, we did our tickets a little bit differently here, hoping that in case it comes off the turf, we've got some information that could still be helpful for you. We'll go ahead and give out our tickets one last time at the bottom of the screen. If you're watching live or the replay, give us a like, a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You'll get alerted every time we go live, as well as the Rocket Hour and Blinkers Off. Mike, I got 2 tickets starting 50 cents. I'm going to go 3, then 2, 4, 5, 6, 3, 8, 9, 11, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a $32 ticket. And then for $2, I'm going 3, 2, 4, 6, single the 3 again, 3, 4, 5. That's $18. So a $50 total investment. And then if things do end up coming off the turf, I'll go ahead and put out the final ticket on Saturday. But please give us yours.
Now we're going to try and spice it up a little bit in the first race. We're going to use Miss Brazil, the 3 horse. We're going to include the 4 and the 5 at a price with 2, 5. With 3, 8, 9, 10, with 3, 4, 5, 11, 12 for 50 cents. That'll cost you $60. If we do end up going off the turf, I'll post up my ticket once the changes are out.
We also, on Saturday, have the Grade 1 Belmont Oaks. This is a $700,000 race, basically the female version of the Belmont Derby, and there's another really, really big named horse coming up in that one, Mike. Santa Barbara for Aiden O'Brien. He sent over a couple of monsters here in Bolshoi Ballet. And Santa Barbara, if you don't know who Santa Barbara is, you know who some of her older siblings are. Iridessa came over in 2019, won the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf, and then her older brother, Order of Australia, showed up and really effed up everybody except for Michael Myers. Picked 4 tickets at Keeneland in the Breeders' Cup, winning the Breeders' Cup Turf Mile. So plenty of class in those horses there. Dr. Miranda will be previewing shortly the Belmont Oaks. They'll be live on the YouTube page. And then Mike, once again, you're going back to you don't know where for the bomb, just because that weather's a little hard for you right now.
Yeah, I printed out Gulfstream for tomorrow. So I think we're going to go Gulfstream tomorrow because that's the track that I feel the best at where, I think that we may have a shot at being on the turf. I mean, I realize that a hurricane just went through there, but it went through the other side of the coast. And they've had 2 days versus where I can tell you New York is going, they might cancel Belmont tomorrow. I'm not kidding. I mean, it's going to be that bad. So I'm going to end up over at Gulfstream Park for tomorrow. And then hopefully we'll be back at Belmont on Saturday. This is a pretty nice card here. So hopefully we get hopefully we get back here on Belmont on Saturday and we get to see these stakes races on the turf, at least the last half of the card on the turf. And Marshall Grant brought up a great point too. He's mentioned, well, you brought this up when you were commenting on him. They don't need to save the turf for anything. We got 2 days left here. You can cut this thing up. You can run one inside, one outside track and not worry about it because you're going to Saratoga right after that.
Yeah, that's true. And speaking of, Saratoga is just a week away, starting to already get some information about who's coming in for what. Golden Pal, remember our old buddy Golden Pal, last seen winning the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, is on schedule, according to Wesley Ward, for the Callback Stakes on opening day, July 15th, literally 1 week away from today, as Mike said. Make sure you check out these Samo Bombs because when Saratoga shows up, that's when the prices really start rolling in. I'm really excited to see what happens with your product and just how strong you come back at the spot, and you're going to be there in person a lot of the time too.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. Can't wait to be in upstate New York. It's going to be awesome.
Make sure you follow him on Twitter at SummerBomb18, number 1, number 8. I am at Curtis Keller. Corporate Orwell is at Racing_Dude. As I mentioned, Blinkers Off should be live later today. I said that last week, and then they waited until Friday morning to go live. So we'll see what happens. I think a lot of it depends, too, if Aaron's hangover from 2 days at Indiana Grand, if that ends up going away in time. Tune in and find out. If you click that notification bell and you subscribe, you'll be able to find out exactly when his hungover ass shows up alongside Jared. Until next time, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck this weekend.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.